Okay, so right here we're going to learn how to factor trinomials with a leading coefficient of 1. So this is the general expression of a trinomial. And here we have x squared, x, and then no x over here. So right here we have an x squared plus 8x. Okay, so you got an x squared, an x, and then no x over here on the third number. So the a here is going to be some coefficient, some number. The b is going to be some other number, and c is going to be some other number. And they could be all the same, or they could be different. Um, the key here is that the a has to be 1. So a cannot be greater than 1. Okay? So right here we have a 1 in front of the x squared, a 1 in front of the x squared, a 1 in front of the x squared. So those fit the criteria for how we're going to factor this one. So let's look at the first problem here. We have x squared plus 8x. So what we want to ask ourselves is what factors of c add up to b? So what factors of c give you the middle coefficient? So let's ask that question about this one. So 15 has different factors. So we have 1, positive 1 and positive 15. We have positive 3 and positive 5. We also have two negatives would make a positive, so you'd get a positive 15 if you multiplied negative 1 times negative 15. So I'm going to put multiplication here. You could also get positive 15 if you multiplied negative 3 times negative 5. And so, but we want to choose the two that are going to add up to that middle term. So right here, 5 plus 8, 5 plus 3 is equal to 8. Okay, so that's going to be, those are going to be my two factors. So once you've identified the two numbers that add up to your middle term, then you just write parentheses. You write parentheses. The first terms here have to multiply to give you the first term of your original expression. So that's going to be x times x gives you x squared. Okay? The last two terms, they have to multiply to give you positive 15 and also add up to give you positive 8x. So that we figured that out, that was going to be positive 3 and then positive 5. But then you ask yourself, why is that? You know, you should always ask yourself, why is that? Well, let's check to see what we just did. So we always can check by foiling, multiplying. So the opposite of factoring is multiplication. So let's check. So right here, I'm going to check by multiplying x times x first. So we're going to FOIL. So x times x. Then we're going to do x times 5, 3 times x, and then 3 times 5. So let's do that. So we get x squared. So x times x is x squared. Then we have positive 5x. And then we get positive 3x. And lastly, we get positive 15. Okay, so now you can see why the two factors of 15 have to add up to give you 8x, because once we finish we combine like terms down here, we're going to get x squared plus, we combine those two, 5x plus 3x, so that's 8x, and then we get positive 15. So we end up with what we started with, so that's check. So that means that our factored answer is correct. So that's check. So remember, like, the reason why you're finding the factors of 15 is because eventually, if we went backwards, those two terms are going to add up to give you that middle term that we started with. Alright, so now let's look at the second problem here. So again, we're looking for factors of negative 28 that give you negative 12, that add up to give you negative 12. So right here, we have a negative number, so one factor has to be negative and the other one positive. So I'm going to start with positive 1 times negative 28. We have positive 2 times negative 14. We have positive 4 times 7, negative 7. we have that's it. So, well, for these ones. But then we can also have negative 1 times positive 28. We can also have negative 2 times positive 14. And we can also have negative 4 times positive 7. Now, you can take a shortcut whenever you're doing these problems. We know that it has to add up to give you negative 12. So the factors that you should be looking for are large negative numbers and small positive numbers. So it has to be a large negative number and a small positive number. So we start with this one. Well, it's not that one. Positive 1 and negative 28. That adds up to give you negative 27. So that's not it. So cross that out. And then we look at the next one. Large negative numbers, small positive numbers. That's going to give you negative 12. So that's it. That's what I needed. So we're going to go directly to our parentheses. So that's going to be uh, the first two terms in front of each parentheses. That's going to be the ones that multiply to give you that first term of your original expression. So then the last two terms, they have to multiply to give you the negative 28. So that's going to be a positive 2 and a negative 14. And you're done. And we should always check to make sure that we start with what we end up with what we started with. So check. So x times x is x squared. X times negative 14 is negative 14x. Plus 2 times x is positive 2x. And positive 2 times negative 14 is negative 28. And so those two terms, they're like. So negative 14x plus 2x, that's going to be negative 12x. And we just bring down the other two terms. And that's correct. That is exactly what we started with. So that factored form x plus 2 parentheses x minus 14 is correct. So now let's look at this last problem. Gotta zoom in here. Okay, so again, we're looking for factors of negative 20 of positive 24 that add up to give you negative 11. So I know it's gonna be a large negative number, so I'm gonna start with large negative numbers. So 2 times positive 2 times negative 12. That's gonna be negative 10. That doesn't. Oh, well, wait a minute. We have to have two positive numbers or two negative numbers. So it's either two positive numbers give you a positive 24, or two negative numbers gives you a positive 24. And because this is a negative number, both of these numbers must be negative in order to give you a negative number, a negative 11. So all of the factors that we test must be negative. So negative 2 times negative 12 is positive 24, but that adds up to give you negative 14, so that's not it. And then we start with negative 3 and negative 8. 3 times negative 8 is negative 20, positive 24, but it adds up to give you, let's see, negative 11. So that's it. We're done. That's what we're going to use. So now I'm going to put parentheses here. So that's going to be x and x. X times x gives you x squared. And then our two factors here, negative 3 and negative 8. And then again, we check to make sure that that's correct. So check. X times x is x squared. X times negative 8 is negative 8x. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. And then negative 3 times negative 8 is positive 24. And then those two terms, we combine them and we get negative 11x. And we drag down the other two. X squared. So, looks like that checks out. We end up with what we started. So, this answer is correct. All right.